I want to talk to you guys about this little part right here. The only way I could get this thing in and out is through my fender well. Here's my JBA upper, and right here's that hole. You take your fender well out here. I run with mine out because they get ripped off when you go off-roading, so I took it off anyway, and I had to pull it out of here. I had to stick this end that you see last. It had to go in. The star part with the little notch that goes to your transmission, and the flywheel actually had to go in first. I couldn't stick that in last. I actually had to put that in first and then work the solenoid and everything through inside here. And I'm telling you, it is tight as a turtle's pecker, guys. You have to access it from back here. All your bolts have to be accessed from the driver's side directly underneath. You do not need to take this this cross member. You do not need to disconnect it and drop it down at all. You do not need to remove that prop shaft. I did remove my skid plate up front just in case I could get access to it, which I really can't. I seen a video where a guy said, oh, you just pull it right through there. Well, with the 5.7 Hemi, you're not doing it. It's got a different differential than the 4.7. Anything that does not have that ELS will have a different differential, and for that I would say you might have the room, but with the ELS there's definitely no room to take it out through the front side underneath here. It has to come out through your wheel well through this little hole here. I would definitely recommend using about 10 inches worth of extensions. I would definitely think about using a swivel adapter and a 1/2 inch socket, not a 3/8. There's just the head difference on the ratchets are bigger and everything's bigger, and it's just there's so little room. You're going to want to use the littlest thing possible. I actually had to use a breaker bar with a 15mm ratchet, a foot long on top of it, just to crack my damn bottom bolt loose on my starter. The top one I couldn't get a ratchet in there until I actually got the oxygen sensor out of the way. On the 5.7 Hemi, the oxygen sensor is literally, you'll know, it's right on the other side here, and right on the other side of this beautiful piece is your O2 sensor, and right on the other side of that is the nut that you need to use to take your upper bolt out for your starter, and it is literally this far away from the nut. And if you know anything about a 1/2 inch or so, it's just enough to get the wrench in there, but you can't turn it because the oxygen sensor protrudes outward, so you can't turn it at all. Same thing with a ratchet, so I had to remove that, but that is all I needed to remove. Now, I had a buddy tell me, who works on these things all day long, who said, listen, man, you're having problems with your shift solenoid, you're having this boggy problem, your lights are going crazy in the dash, like your PCM's bad, your throttle body positioning sensor's going off. He goes, before you change your valve body and your shift solenoid in your Jeep, make sure you check your starter, because if your starter's bad, you'll have these problems. Well, sure as shit, I'm like, dude, I got a bad starter. It's fucking right there. What do you know? All day yesterday, all day today, I did not have to disconnect my battery once to get the little lightning bolt on the dash with your, it's a light that indicates your throttle body positioning sensor is not communicating with your throttle body very well. So it puts it in like weird limp mode and everything else, and it idles and sputters and does weird shit. I would almost every time I started, I would have to disconnect the battery, redo it, clear the code, start the Jeep up, run fine, shut it off, start up, same damn thing. Well, I haven't had that problem since I replaced the starter yesterday, so I think it might be true. And I read that on a forum, only on one forum out of all my Googling. I ran into where somebody said, check your starter, dude. If your starter's bad, you'll run into these problems. Well, my friend has been a mechanic for 15 years for GM, and he just went to Chrysler like another 5 years now. He's moved to Jeep, Chrysler, and Dodge, and he said that is a problem. You definitely got to make sure your starters, and I checked my starter in this post here. First of all, you can tell this starter's been already replaced, it's already remanufactured, because it's got the copper terminal here. The factory ones have a steel stud, and this is loose. It wobbles back and forth. I don't know if you can see the movement, but this whole thing moves. In fact, the whole plastic cap here is moving. So I think it was arcing and causing some type of an electrical problem with the PCM, because it only had the damn problem when I go to start it. After it's running, ran fine. Transmission over temp constantly. I haven't had that problem now all day, yesterday or today. I shut the thing off and started about probably 10 times and haven't had any problems with it. So I'm definitely going to have to say, guys, if you have a bad starter and you're noticing other little symptoms, just like a sensor, one sensor could throw 15 codes. Like an O2 sensor, it could throw everything else off. Your fuel, mixture, ratio, everything could be thrown off over one sensor, and it could throw 15 other codes, and not to mention. So this is something that we have to take into consideration when we're doing this. Now, this job took me about 2.5 hours. It's not an easy job. Probably the worst starter job I think I've ever worked on any car I've ever done. My wife's Jeeps, the XJ's super easy. Just go in and open the hood. You can reach it. This thing, absolutely subframe, no frame up here, so there's no room. You can't get underneath here and look because it's blocked in solid, so there's really no way of accessing it. Anyway, guys, this is the secret's out. The secret's out. You don't need to drop your transmission. You do not, or the transmission cross member. You do not need to disconnect that prop shaft, and you don't have to do anything. The only thing I had to do is take out my O2 sensor just to allow me to be able to get a wrench in there. Anyway, peace out. Love yourself. Love your country.